I am just doing introductions, and you have before you the three candidates for County Council District 1, Jenn Alcorn, Louisa Conklin, and Eric Smothers. For tonight, our moderator will be Jerry Donald. He will be the person who will be asking the questions as we go through the procedures tonight. You will find in your seat a card because the intent is to have 3 of the prepared questions and then 2 questions from the audience. So if you have a question that you would like to have covered, please write that down on the card. You can hand that to either myself or one of the other moderators who will be going around to gather the cards. So if you have a card, just kind of wave it in the air and we'll come pick it up. We'll try to consolidate questions if we have multiple people who are asking similar questions. So the format will be 5 minutes as the opening that we're doing right now. We'll then have 5 minutes where each of the candidates will introduce themselves at 1 minute apiece. And then we'll have 3 prepared questions. The questions will have 2 minutes for the candidates to respond. And then if somebody makes a statement they would want to rebut, they will have an opportunity to rebut somebody else's statement. Then we'll have 2 questions from the audience. Then each candidate will get 1 minute for a closing statement as we wrap up. So that's the way that the format is scheduled to work. If we have extra time, if people aren't using the amount of time, or if we don't have rebuttals, we will ask we'll try to ask additional questions, and hopefully from the audience. So we encourage you to write those questions down and turn them in. How are we doing on the live stream?
Good.
Okay, so we are up and ready to stream. So without further ado, I will turn the agenda over to our moderator, Jerry Donald, and let him go through the interviews, allow the candidates to introduce themselves.
All right, I'm Jerry Donald. I'm the current county councilman from this district. I'm happy to be here to moderate the debate between 3 people who are interested in filling this seat. I'll let each of them introduce themselves and start with Eric.
Well, good evening. Glad to be here. Who am I? I'm Eric Smothers, a lifetime resident of Frederick County. Grew up in Brunswick and Knoxville. I am a current Brunswick City Councilman. I worked for Ground State Police for 37 years as an aviation flight paramedic, so I've watched Frederick County above, growing, and contracting. I've also worked for the Frederick County Sheriff's Office, Brunswick City Police Department. I am a current president of Brunswick Volunteer Ambulance and Rescue down the road, as well as an assistant fire chief here in Frederick County. So I'm an active paramedic. Also, your county's medical examiner, so got something going on both sides there. I was the current MSFA fire chief, representing over 360 volunteer fire departments across the state, and various other somebody who sit on our state fire commission as well, with our state EMS medical advisor.
I'm Louisa Conklin. I moved to Frederick County 4 years ago with my husband when we bought our house. It was my first time as a homeowner. I love Frederick County. I love living in Brunswick. It's been very good to me. I had no intention to run until this past winter when our county council voted 5-2 to expand a planning commission approved data center site by 1,000 acres that included ag preserve land. I'm running because I want to keep Frederick County beautiful. I want to keep Frederick County affordable for those who haven't been priced out yet. And because I want to get back to what was making Frederick County great. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, so I'm Jenn Alcorn. I'm running for Frederick County Council, and I'm doing that because this is my home, and Frederick County raised me, and what I mean by that is growing up here, I had a parent with severe mental illness, left some gaps, and this community is what filled those gaps in. It gave me the foundation to be standing here today as somebody who is running for county council. FCPS also led me to my late husband, and we knew we would build our life here, and that's what we did. We raised our kids here. We both worked in a service center for years here in Frederick County, and him as a police officer for Frederick City. And I worked in the hospitality industry for 20 years. 14 of those were here in Frederick County with a locally family-owned company whose mission statement included community involvement is essential. We live here. It gave me infinite opportunities to be involved in the business community, the nonprofit community, as well as government, and understand how all of those entities work together. And I want to serve our county.
Okay, thank you. Jen, you get the first statement, then or answer to this question, then we'll work our way on down. In December of 2025, the Frederick County Council voted to take the recommendation of the Planning Commission, which was to limit the footprint of data centers to basically old East Alcorn industrial area and add about 1,000 acres of it into rural legacy, land that was deemed as within the rural legacy map. Okay. With that background, what is your position on data center development in Frederick County?
So the land was eligible for rural legacy and preservation, but it was not in preservation, and I think that's a really important distinction. I don't support growth beyond the CDI overlay as it stands today. And I support restricting, regulating that industry and adhering to that and enforcing the developers to those regulations. That's important. Minimizing and mitigating the effects to that surrounding area as well as the impact to all of the county is important, and I think that this overlay does that.
So you all heard me say that this is the issue that got me off the bench, and this issue got me off the bench because it is an existential one. And that's what we're hearing from residents. That's what I hear when I knock on hundreds of doors. What about our water? What about our electric grid? What about any industrial future that is not about computational power for generative AI? What about the fact that a lot of us go to work every day? I work in the leading trade organization for the biotech sector. A lot of us go to work and get marketed to non-stop about how can we replace our employees with AI? How can we be replaced by AI? I know that's what my boss is getting. And what we're seeing right now is communities saying, you know what, if that's what you think, why don't you find another place to build your hyperscale data center? We're good here. I'm standing up for residents who feel that way. I also am standing up for ag conservation, okay? Because yes, you can sell an easement under these programs. Also, respect for the programs and their intent is the only thing that allows us to keep these lands for future generations. Once the barn door is wide open now and the horses left the gate, and now we're already seeing the next generation of requests to rezone agricultural land, including land under the preservation programs, to be used for industrial development without regard to the qualitative aspects of the community, the character of these communities, the needs of residents, utilities, and every other thing that we have heard from residents repeatedly. I'm ready to put a stop to unfettered development of data centers and other industrial plans that just don't meet resident needs. Yes.
You know, I think the areas that we have the current data center, I am not legacy programs, I think we need to have a conversation with some of the current farm owners and look at trying to put additional land in those preservation areas so that we don't have these big data centers or big developments. Growth is inevitable here in this county. The money that is going to be generated, the revenue, proposed revenue coming out from that data center can certainly help some of our costs for public use, for utilities, for our water, for our public safety, as well as our fire service and our sheriff's office and our schools. So the money that is going to be generated coming back from those facilities, I want to make sure that we're spending it wisely and improve infrastructure and safety for our roads, especially in that Adamstown area. Make sure that we put a buffer up along the schools down there so that the data centers aren't encroaching on those areas. It's unfortunate that when we see growth and dirt starts to move, a lot of those plans have been 10 or 15 years in the making. And that's when people realize that something is going to happen. But what we can do is mitigate some of the additional growth that is happening around those areas. And we have an opportunity now to go back and revisit some of that. And so that's what I'm interested in doing, is slowing that down.
This question will start.
Can I use?
Oh, you get one of your 2 rebuttals.
Thank
There you go, 30 seconds.
Hang on a second.
You're
Go ahead. Give me a second. I'm keeping scrambling back here. All right.
Thank you. I just want to also point out that we did take a pause when this administration started. There was a pause and a moratorium, so there was time to look at industry, look at mistakes that have been made, and learn from those mistakes. We have caps, we have restrictions in place, and I just want to say, the overlay does not equal a building permit. There is a very extensive process. That's not happening tomorrow. They have to adhere to the restrictions that we've put in place.
You want to know 30 seconds as well?
Yeah, I want to use the rebuttal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Use 30 seconds.
Hang on. Working it.
What lessons? What lessons? We're copying the Loudoun County playbook 15 years too late. If we just waited a few years, we might be the leaders in next-gen data center technology. Instead, we're burning up the last of our industrial land, most of the last of our industrial land that's currently zoned for this, and using it to build what is destined to be obsolete in, I would wager, 5 years.
The next question, we'll start with, start out here.
Somebody's
sleeping on mine. It's ours.
Okay, how?
Hang on a second.
Frederick, you ready?
Yep.
Frederick County has preserved about 80,000 acres in terms of agricultural land. The goal is to preserve 150,000 acres. How would you balance economic development with land preservation in Frederick County?
I think we got to have a conversation with the developers, that's the first and foremost. And how we go about doing that is looking at our permitting processes that we have in place. And when we do that, that needs to be more outspoken so that the public can see what is going to potentially go on some of that public land. I think we need to have a lot of community input. We do that, and I've done that in Brunswick with our city council, with the developments in those areas, and actually had some meaningful conversations with the developers on how the streets are designed, how the traffic flow is going to be, additional monies that go into our stormwater management and wastewater management, and getting some of those folks that are building these buildings and building homes to pay for some of that on the front end. And that's exactly what they're doing. So I think I have a core knowledge on how to deal with some of our developers to make sure that when we get ready to build a building or put new developments in, that we put the infrastructure in and we do it right. The additional monies that we would make from the data center that's coming back to, should not be going to the taxpayers. We can have the developers pay for a lot of that, so our taxes do not go up on the rise. So gross and up, we can't just do it off of the residents. We need business in order to offset those costs, and that's how we drive costs down to make it economical for business to come here, that we can keep our citizens here off of 270 and driving hours away when folks want to stay here close to home, and we can make it so that it's local.
So we have business in Frederick County, and a big question that I think we need to ask is, how do we make money off of the businesses who are already here? And I'm not talking about small business. I'm not talking about Eric's Brothers Shop, which I love, or the small businesses going into downtown Brunswick, which are great. I think my city's council and mayor have done a wonderful job leading economic development. I'm talking about big businesses here in our county who do not contribute to our tax base the way that we do as residents. They don't carry the same burden that we do, and I think we should be looking at how to shift some of the tax burden to businesses that are here, large businesses, out-of-state businesses, yes, data centers, and other large corporations. We've done a great job with the biotech industry, bringing biotechs into Frederick County. I'm not saying that obviously as an employee of a biotech trade organization, I'm saying that as a candidate. I think that Frederick could be leaders in ag biotech, and I would love to see more investment in that. And when I say leaders, Frederick County doing great in biotech is fantastic, but we could be like the San Diego of ag biotech if we wanted to be. So when I think of ag preservation, which I think was the original question, I think about what one of our biggest strengths is, and that's that we have some of the best, most productive farmland, that we have adjacency to DC, and that uniquely positions us for some industry, some sectors of industry that we're not focusing on as much currently, that I think we could, and I think it would benefit. Our tax base. I think it would also benefit our country, because ag biotech is the future. That's how we'll feed ourselves.
Sure. Frederick County has preserved about 80,000 acres in agricultural land, and the goal is to preserve 150,000. How would you balance economic development with land preservation in Frederick County?
So in the legislation, it is a 5-to-1 acre that has to be preserved. Any acreage that is data center development, 5 acres of ag preserved. That is in the legislation. So that's gonna help a little bit get us to the goal. I think it's actually 160,000 acres as well. So economic development and understanding our business community is something I pride myself on, and I remember when Bechtel exited Frederick County, when we're still recovering from that exit. It was a blow to jobs that are available with living wages and great jobs. Losing that business to Northern Virginia was not good for Frederick County. We do have an Office of Economic Development. I think they're forward thinking. They are the reason we have live technologies and biotech, as well as Fort Detrick being here. We're going to talk about water use. We need to also look at that industry, and we need to look at golf courses too.
So many golf courses.
Folks,
Being a fast-growing county is a positive thing. So without growth, we've got no opportunities here. And we start cutting budgets, and we start losing school funding, and we don't continue to see our quality of life increase, and these services that Frederick County prides ourselves on continue to move in the right direction. I want to see us balance that with focuses on Frederick County's workforce, creating career pathways and fostering technical education. Things like IBEW is doing. They're investing the dollars, they're employing Frederick County residents, they're giving them union jobs with health benefits, and they get to work here. And they will move on. A construction job is a job you're always working your way out of. That doesn't mean it doesn't pay you well and feed your family.
At this point, if you have questions, if you could give them to Laura Westdorf, if you've written any questions down before we move on to the
I'll
next
pick 'em up.
question.
Just raise them up,
Andy's
we'll come
cards.
get them.
Okay. Anybody else? While she's collecting them, thank you all very much. It's the best attended forum I've seen, like, since Brunswick in 2014. It's amazing. Thank you. Congratulations.
If you ask the question, you want to ask another one, let us know. We have more blank cards.
But we do have 40 minutes.
You want a card? Sure.
I'm sorry, can I ask a format question? Is this a question, a Q&A with the audience supposed to be talking back right now, or is it just an opportunity to listen to the candidates?
No, it's just a
Okay, I would love if I could actually just listen to the answers to the questions.
Yep, Jerry's on it.
Okay, thank you.
Louisa will start the next one. All right, Louisa, this is you'll start, and then Eric, and then, is that right? And then Jenn will start. I think it's the right order. So I'm trying to keep track of all this. Louisa, your question is, here we go. Would you support rent stabilization legislation for Frederick County?
Yes, Frederick County needs rent stabilization. I say this as somebody who rented for most of my adult life. I know what it feels like to be one not even like terrible thing, one bad thing away from not being able to afford rent. Rent stabilization is not going to impact small landlords for the most part. It might impact them if they're not acting in good faith and as responsible landlords, but for the most part, it is there to ensure that people who are already living in Frederick County who might be holding on to that what is left of our affordable housing stock are able to stay. It gives families a chance to plan a little bit further ahead. It keeps people from becoming homeless, ultimately. I don't think rent stabilization on its own is enough to protect tenants. I think we need to look also at good cause eviction. Those are regulations that are designed to basically ensure that a tenant who is paying their rent on time is able to stay until, for a limited number of reasons, the landlord decides to give up their housing. So yes, my answer is that I absolutely support rent stabilization and additional regulations that we need to protect our tenants and keep housing that is affordable.
So I also support rent stabilization. And I think Montgomery County has enacted a model that is working well. So if you're in your rental, they can only increase it a certain amount each year. And we need rules. We need to make sure people can stay in their homes. Housing is a human right, absolutely. Part of that issue is also inventory. We don't have enough units. And the strategic plan coming out of housing needs assessment can't just sit on a shelf. We need to actually do what's in that strategic plan, and it's gonna take many different elements to get that done. So I do think the county is moving in the right direction. I think there's a lot more to do. Things like building on county-owned property with affordable units. In Brunswick, our Alice households are the largest percentage in the entire county. They surpass Frederick City. So we've seen things that work, like Railwood Square in Brunswick, and we need to continue to foster an environment, work with state and federal partners, and continue to bring that housing online so that we're adding units. The more shortage on inventory, the worse it's going to squeeze our entire county. And we're gonna be stuck in this cycle. So we've gotta do some new things, and we are doing that. We've expanded tax credits. Well, if the budget gets approved, we've expanded tax credits for seniors, increasing the income limits as well as the home values. It's gonna potentially help another 1,000 seniors. We need to keep looking at those things. Also, the people who work here our teachers, our first responders, our county government employees, they need a pathway to homeownership or to even just be able to afford their homes. And there's a lot of programs that exist out there, some that went by the wayside, that they're looking at bringing back, and I think that we need to continue to look at those and get everything possible into the bag of tricks that we need to do to solve this problem.
I'm also in favor of that, making sure that we have decent rent control. When you look at the land use that we have, it's about 1 to 2% affordable for most of our residents here in this county. I mean, the median income for majority of our residents is between 70 and about $89,000 a year. So you really need two incomes in order to try to go out here and purchase a big home. Again, here's where we can talk to our developers and put more townhouses or put more duplexes in lower income homes. And lower income doesn't mean that we're gonna have bad areas. It's just that folks cannot afford to pay $500,000, $800,000 for a large home. They just need to be smaller. We have vacant county buildings, we have vacant county land that we can put housing on today, as well as looking at tax incentives, not only at the county level, but also at the state and federal levels, and talk to our federal partners for first-time homeowners. And that's what folks need. A lot of our residents, or some of our residents, they're only a couple paychecks away from being evicted, just because of the rising costs and trying to maintain a family. Get your vehicles on top of that. You know, you mentioned Brunswick. We have an affordable living area at Railroad Square. I know there was oppositions to that, but that is working fine. We have very little problems out of those areas, so there's no reason why we can't build facilities like that all across Frederick County and spread that out. I have a lot of Alice homes in Brunswick, and those folks are fine. You know, they just don't have that economic boost to go out and buy a single family home, and that's where we need to help.
Any 30-second response on this one?
I will.
Okay, go ahead. That's your second.
Hang on. Oh, no. I didn't think I'd have a program.
Okay. I just want to expand on a few other things that have to do with helping with the housing situation. Accessory dwelling units are a hot button. It's a tool that is very prohibitive right now, and we need to work on streamlining that process. Also, the developers, 5 to 7 years out, costs go up. So if they plan on building something 5 to 7 years ago, it's a completely different project now, and it hinders us bringing those things to market.
All right, Jen, you were to lead off again this time. This came from the audience, thank you. What can the council do to bring in more revenue to adequately fund Frederick County Public Schools in order to lower class size and make it more competitive for teacher recruitment in surrounding counties? And I'll repeat the question for you guys if you want to. Repeat it again. Okay, this is an audience question. What can the council do to bring more revenue to adequately fund FCPS in order to lower class size and make it more competitive for teacher recruitment than surrounding counties?
So, you're right. So, nobody wants to see property taxes increase. That's something all of us are already, as homeowners, paying above and beyond, and that only continues to go up as our assessments go up. Looking at expanding the commercial tax base is key in this county. We have to change the ratio, and 80% of our tax revenue can't be coming from our residents. The data centers, yeah, that $100 million is gonna be a 10% increase. That's the low end to the county's overall $1 billion budget. I wanna see buckets, the number one of which to be education, because We have to continue to bring our capital projects online. Brunswick High School, the Career and Tech Center, we're turning away 1,000 kids a year so that, I'm sorry? Can I reclaim some time?
Just,
Thanks.
please don't talk to me. It's a friendly little gathering. We're just all people.
So CTC is turning away about 1,000 kids a year. I have 2 children that went through the CTC program, working in Frederick County. The program works. It's a travesty that we're turning away that many kids. And these aren't just trades. These aren't just one type of kid. We've got college-bound kids in engineering, medical fields. We've got to continue to foster that. We've co-located some programs. What can we do to locate those more? So I do think that that's going to provide a bump to education funding. We also need to look at public-private partnership funding to bring schools online quicker. And this is a different strategy than we've ever used before, but it doesn't put the cost burden on the county all up front, all at one time. It allows it to take on, similar to a mortgage. And then there's other options. Do we bear the burden for maintenance costs? That's something else that we can look at. So we can get more schools online more quickly.
Louisa, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you good?
I think I've got it. So, funding public education is a top priority of mine. I believe that I've put forward a pretty robust plan for fully funding our public schools, and that's why I was awarded the Apple Ballot by our school unions. First and foremost, as I said earlier, what I didn't say earlier is I reject the idea that data centers are some kind of magical ATM machine. They may provide revenue in the short term. $100 million, I think, is largely unsubstantiated and factors in a lot of, I don't think it's a clean revenue based on actual tax dollars that our data centers will bring in. Even if it was, I would worry that in 3 to 5 years, if they're no longer operational, if the technology has become obsolete, there goes that funding source, which is why I advocate for business personal property tax that is levied on not just data centers, but other large corporations, including corporations that are incorporated out of state. I would like to see us revisit our corporate tax real property rate, which is the same as resident property tax, the resident property tax rate. I don't think that's right. I also think we need to relook at the APFO and make sure that we are actually making developers pay for their impact on our communities when they build in a crowded school district. We have not done a good job at that so far. That's one of the reasons why our schools are overcrowded. I think that's about all of that in terms of, I talked about APFO, I talked about corporate tax, I do want to say that I am also against increasing the property tax rate. I think we have one of the most progressive income tax plans in the state. We're the only county that does progressive income taxing, and I think that's good. We should always be looking to reduce the burden on the lowest paid. Thank you.
I think that we have to look at some of the businesses that are coming in and look at how much taxes that they're paying, just like the other candidates have mentioned. It should not be the full burden of our residents to be able to offset that cost. We really need to take a look at our vocational road tech programs here, because we're going to need plumbers and masons and electricians, and they do a very good starter nursing program. I certainly looked at that when I was going through school back many moons ago. And the healthcare is certainly growing, and they're stable industries. I mean, when folks are looking online to someone come for an electrician or a plumber, those are the folks that are going to be making out like bandits, because a lot of folks don't know how to fix their stuff right now. So, so if we can put that into an educational process here in the school, expand that kind of resources here in the county, I think that's a positive. Not every child wants to go to college, and and we have a very diverse mix, and we have to placate the both sides of that. We want to make sure our kids are well versed in AI and the newer technology because, when you look at kids today, they're on a computer all the time. Everyone in here's got a cell phone, and that technology is going to continue to grow. But it can also be very helpful with AI when you're looking at trying to make a diagnosis or try to fix an issue. It can be very beneficial, but we don't want to leverage that on our taxpayers. We can do that with some of the businesses and expand looking at what type of businesses come to Frederick County, whether it's places like Fort Detrick and the medical side of the community or light industrial. We need a good mix of that kind of growth across this county. Change is inevitable, and I know folks don't like having businesses backed up to them, but we have to look at all of that to offset our costs.
Anybody else want to respond to that one? I'm going to combine two questions here from the audience and from the precept questions about ag preservation, land preservation, and agriculture in general. Right now, Frederick County is in a transition period with agriculture. We were a grain county about 120 years ago. We became a dairy county in the 1930s. And now we are transitioning to all sorts of different farming techniques in Frederick County. We have also ag tourism programs that you may be aware of, some near here in Middletown. So what I would like to know is, and also as a background, we have an ag business office in Frederick County government that is set to try to help preserve not just the farm, but the farmer. It is about $1 billion or so plus industry in Frederick County. And we have 5 different ag preservation programs that we use to try to preserve agricultural land. So all that, okay, what do you see as the future of Frederick County's agricultural business sector, and what role do you see Frederick County government in as promoting or protecting or any of that with Frederick County agriculture? Now, if I combine the questions, okay, you understand it, which I can repeat.
so.
Okay. Why don't we start, I think it's Eric's turn to start.
Well, I'd certainly like to see us expand our ag preservation. There are a lot more different smaller farms that are being developed and that we see going across Frederick County. We need to be able to look at those programs, those small businesses, to help them on a startup. And I think we can do that by looking at how much taxes that they're paying on the initial front to help get them started. And I look and see what grants that we may be able to, either at a county level or state level, to help them get those businesses started. The current businesses that we have, we certainly want to make sure that we preserve what we have. And there's, again, a conversation to be had, I think, with those landowners about how that property gets transitioned or how that property stays in an ag easement. It's very difficult to tell someone that, hey, when a developer knocks on your door to turn down millions of dollars, that you want to try to keep your property in ag preservation, or either have the county purchase it or the state purchase it to keep it that way. So I think there's a myriad of options that we can do to help folks get started on the interim. I certainly would like to see us be very diverse in what we have available here in Frederick County. All the dairy farmers that we have here, beef, cattle, and so forth. So, but we're also seeing a bunch of small businesses, wineries, and stuff like that we also need to help as well. So I think there's a bunch of options I think we can take a look at.
I'm going to let Jenn go next and Louisa do last instead of holding.
Yep, so I agree with a lot of what Eric said. I would love to see an ag incubator created here in Frederick County. We've already created the Office of Agriculture. Those are specialists that are helping connect farmers and agriculture to grants here, state and federal levels. So the other pieces of that is farmers need to be profitable. So we've got to preserve the ability for that to happen. We can't just say we want agricultural land. If they can't be profitable and can't be successful, then developer dollars and people knocking on their doors saying, I want to pay you for your land, is going to start looking more and more attractive. I think we also have a food crisis coming at us in terms of supply chain, And it's gonna be that much more important that we're supporting our ag industry, because I think very well we're headed towards them being what's feeding us. And Frederick is going to be ahead of that, with obviously with the amount of farms that we have. So part of that ag incubator, I also believe could be, yes, starting up and helping new farmers who are not involved, as well as ag tourism. I worked in tourism in this county, and it brings more dollars to this county than I think a lot of people realize. And those are dollars that stay here, and then they go back home. The people go back home. So everything from Summers Farm, I know folks that come all the way out from Annapolis, and that's where they go every year. They want to come to Summers Farm. Thank you. The wine trail, all of those things, those didn't just happen. The county helped foster that, helped market it, and we need to continue to do those things so they can innovate and they can be successful.
So I want to reply to something that I heard Jenn say, which is that farms will become what feeds us. They already are what feeds us. Our farms in Frederick County are among the most productive, and they're already feeding us. They're not set pieces, although I do love driving through and looking at them. And they're not futures or options that we can trade in when we're ready to do something else. And we need our county council to recognize that and to be extremely intentional with rezoning decisions, because the reason developers are going and buying, knocking on doors and offering people astronomical amounts of money that adjacent farmers who would like to buy that parcel cannot afford to compete with. The reason they're doing that is because our county council incentivizes them to do that, because we grant their wishes for rezoning when they ask, as long as they know the right people. We need to stop that.
Eric, do you have a response for Louisa?
Oh, I wasn't quite done yet. I was
My apologies. Give her the
So,
time.
and the thing is, there are other structural problems with farming. Farming isn't hard just in Frederick County, it's hard across the country. I think we can invest more in our preservation programs to make it more lucrative. You can't expect a farmer to live off of an easement now for even their whole life, let alone the next generation. So we do need to look at that. We need to work closer with Annapolis to make sure regulations aren't putting an undue cost burden on our farmers. I think we could be doing more in that vein. And I think, yeah, that's all I've got.
I don't think we want to put any more undue burden on our farmers out there. As I travel up and down.
Just the 37. He hasn't had one yet, so you can have it.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
As I travel up and down through Burkittsville, I see what our farmers go through every day. My girlfriend lives on a farm. I see that dump truck back up every evening there. We want to make it easy for our folks, our farmers, to continue to do that, and so that the families have generational wealth going forward. And I think we can do that by looking at the regulations that the county sets forward to help offset some of that.
Okay. I'm going to put together a couple of questions from the audience into one package, all right? We're trying to get through this myriad of questions that we have. These are all data center related. So,
Jerry, this is the last question. If I'm counting them right. Yes.
okay.
I guess that's gonna be this
All right.
flash.
It's a four-parter, but it's not that hard.
Four-parter.
Did you sign the referendum? Yes or no? Do you support an independent cost analysis about data centers? That's pretty much a yes or no. Have you accepted funds from data center developers, like Pleasance or Natelli? And have you been to Adamstown, and what do you think the county should have in place to protect the community? What community benefit? Does that make sense to everyone? Last part's community benefit. Have you accepted money from these folks? Is there, what do you think of an independent cost analysis, which is something Karen Lewis-Young talked about? And did you sign the petition? These are the questions.
Do you want to do the yes/no ones first, and then we can leave them space?
Your call.
Good idea. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, maybe just read the first one that's
All right,
yes.
first part. Did you sign the referendum petition, yes or no?
Can I only give a yes, no?
That's what I'm getting from the audience.
Yes, I signed the data center referendum, ballot referendum.
I have not.
I also have not.
Okay, that's easy. All right. Do you support an independent cost-benefit analysis for this whole data center development issue as proposed by Colonel Young, State Senator from Frederick?
I support Senator Louis Young's proposal, but I don't think it goes far enough. I don't need a cost-benefit analysis as much as I need to know that we're willing to hit pause on these until they supply at least 80% of their own power.
I support doing it, but, you know, for us here in Frederick County, I think the state's looking for us to try to help them out there, and I think they're way behind where Frederick County is. So for that cost analysis, I think that is way too late.
I agree. That was needed 10 years ago, 8 years ago. I think data and information is always helpful. So yes, I think we need it and we should utilize it and look at that information and make changes accordingly. That can happen ongoing and continuously.
Okay, so what's the next one? Sorry.
We go to the last part of this, last two parts. Have you accepted funds from data center developers? If so, how much? Pleasance to tally all the folks doing data center.
What's the fourth one?
Have you been to the Adamstown data center site? What do you think the county should do as a community benefit?
You guys okay with 2 minutes to answer both of those?
Yeah, so community benefit was what you
And have
asked
you accepted?
initially and the developer dollars.
Yeah.
Okay, campaign finance reports are public information, so it's out there and I would welcome everyone to research all of your candidates if that's something that's important to you.
Answer the question.
That's your answer. Go ahead.
I've also been following this project for a very long time, and I think that all of the things that we've done to change the direction and is moving in the right direction. We can continue to make those changes. It's ongoing. Community benefits, as far as that's concerned, also been paying attention to that, attended all the meetings, voiced my concerns, and I think that the county is listening to what the residents want, and I would love to continue to see that civic engagement. That's important. Engaging civically is super important. I hope everybody continues to do that, very much so. Everyone's voice is important.
No, I didn't. I have not accepted developer contributions to my campaign. I will not accept developer contributions to my campaign. And while I would ask people to keep their comments and disruptions to my fellow candidates to a minimum, I will acknowledge that some of the high emotion that I'm seeing, I believe, is due to the fact that, Jen, you did accept a developer contribution, and you accepted it so early in your race that I think a lot of people look at it more like a signing bonus. So, no, I will not. So the answer to the developer campaign contribution question is no. I have not and will not accept campaign contributions. And sorry, did I break a rule there?
No, but the next piece.
And what is the, can you remind me?
Community benefit. What do you
And as far as community benefit agreements, yes, I visited Adamstown. I've talked to residents in Adamstown. I've heard their concerns. I've heard their anxieties, their dismay, their despair. I think that community benefits, before we look to what the community can take back, we need to ask how we make these people whole. Because they are taking a direct hit to their property values. They're taking a direct hit to their aquifer. We need to make sure that we're supporting them and that we're, whatever the future of data centers in Adamstown is, the residents most impacted by it have to be at the center. And that's why I'll do whatever I can to push back on this project. That's why I will do whatever I can to drag it out with the hope that these developers find another community to destroy.
I have not taken developers' dollars, but I can also tell you that those two developers are big entities here in Frederick County because they also provide a lot of the housing. And build a lot of the housing in the communities that we serve. Brunswick is one of them. Both developers are in Brunswick currently. And I've got 1,600 homes that's coming into Brunswick here. So we gotta have some of that for the developers. I mean, that's how we get things done. But what we can do is leverage our developers as they're starting to do the plannings and the APOs before they even put a shovel in the ground. That's where our conversation needs to happen. Unfortunately, what's happened in Adamstown, we didn't really jump on this until the dirt started moving. And when East Alco, who was a big employer that used just as much water, or probably twice as much water as some of the data centers, we need to make sure that they do not disturb the aquifers, that whatever water is returned back to the reservoir, back to the river, that it's safe, and hold them accountable. And if not, then we need to make sure that they're gonna pay to fix and make those corrections, not at the county's expense, not at the taxpayer's expense. But we also, as that facility is built, we also need to talk to the residents and see what your needs are. And see what you wanna see in there. Make sure that we have buffers for the school. Make sure that you have the infrastructure and the safety mechanisms in place that you design. And we can spin that around and put that on the builders and the developers before any other places are built or expanded. And then make sure that we have plenty of buffers around your homes, that you feel safe in the Adamstown area.
Can I use my second? Okay. I do want to add that I think Eric brought up an important point, which is what I would refer to as environmental escrow. We need to make sure that the companies doing the building are setting aside money that they can use if either the AI industry goes under suddenly and there's no longer a financial incentive for them to finish it. And to Eric's point further, that developers build homes, yes, of course they do. I'm willing to work with developers. I don't want to work for them, and I don't want to work alongside county council members who work for them.
Eric, you have one last rebuttal if you want, 30 seconds before you close.
It looks like we got additional rebuttals with these extra questions. Is that not the case?
No.
We only got two.
Yeah.
No, I
You'll
think
get
we need to
closer.
continue to have an active conversation. It can't be just a one-stop. I mean, I understand the sentiments from where the citizens are coming from, but it has to be a two-way street. And I don't think that everybody's gonna get everything that we're asking for. But we can have meaningful conversations, and before development is started, we can have these conversations on the front end. East Alco is still a part of that. I don't know that a lot of folks understand that. But they're still monitoring the water even after they've long gone. So, and I just wanna continue that.
All right, we're going to have closing statements from each candidate for a minute. Laura's going to say some things from the Women's Democratic League, and then I'll say.
Yeah, they can,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah, they can do their closing.
Okay, you would each like to do your closing now, please.
1 minute, 15 seconds.
Do you want to start?
1 minute, right?
Yep.
Oh, wait, who has not gone first? I don't know. Let's start with Eric. Just pass it down the line.
And I'm running to make good improvements here in Frederick County. I think the diversity that I have between fire rescue, EMS, and being a current councilman in Brunswick, makes me look at things a lot differently. I understand the growth, but I also understand the environmental impacts that we're trying to make sure that Frederick County stays rural, and make sure that our agricultural businesses stay solvent. But we also don't want to put the tax burden on our citizens. You know, we want to make sure that our schools are safe for our kids when they go to school. I'm in favor of putting deputies in all of our schools, but we can't get there based on all of the tax revenue from our citizens. So I want to keep things safe here. I want to promote not only small business, but some major businesses coming to Frederick, and keep our employees here, not going up and down 270. You know, I want to look at our road improvements as well, so.
Follow Eric's lead and stand for this one. So I decided to run for office because I think we're at a crossroads. I think that when I go out and I talk to voters, I don't hear that the decision-making that's happening right now in our county government is working for them. I don't hear that the status quo is acceptable. I'm hearing that the status quo is decline. And it's not just the data center. The data center was a huge wake-up call, but I think people have been recognizing for a long time that residential growth hasn't followed the livable Frederick master plan. It hasn't taken into account the needs of residents nearly as much as it's taken into account the interests of developers. This goes for schools too. One of the reasons we have to dig our schools out of their underfunded state that they're in now is because we didn't plan for growth the way we should have. And I'm running to bring change to the way we consider and plan for growth. I'm running to center resident needs back where they belong in our county decision making. Thank you.
So I do believe I'm the most qualified due to my lifelong roots in Frederick County, the professional experiences that I have here, and the extensive partnerships that I've formed over the county. I have a deep, comprehensive understanding of this community that transcends any single issue, and I'm ready to get to work, and I'm ready to represent the people in my district, the residents here, first and foremost.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. The Women's Democratic League has a few words to say.
So I'm the current president of the Women's Democratic League. My name is Laura Westor. I just want to thank all of you for coming out on a Monday night and for engaging so actively in the community. As you can tell, like putting these forums together is a community project. Andrew Duck, Jerry Donald, we've got Patty Clemens in the background. The Central Committee helped us with a lot of this. It takes all of us to have this conversation. And I really do appreciate all of you being here and being part of that conversation. We wanted to leave a little bit of time if you wanted to speak one-on-one with the candidates. So I do apologize that we seem to cut the question and answer part a little short, but the library also is insisting that you be off the premises by 8 o'clock. You don't have to go home, just can't be here. So if you want to, we'll take a couple minutes. We're going to have to break the room down, set it all back up, but it gives you a chance to talk to the candidates. You guys don't mind staying until close to 8 o'clock, answer questions. Thank you again, everybody. The next one that we're hosting is the 27th of May. It will be the delegates running for Legislative District 4. That's Jerry Donald, Andrew Duck, Illyria Stanley, and Paul Gilligan in the back. You got 3 of the 4 candidates in that. That will be at the Walkersville Fire Hall Auxiliary Building. I think it's roughly the same format, roughly the same time. Please come join us. Almost everybody in this room is also in that district for the Maryland State Senate. You're currently represented by 4 Republicans. If you want to get a sense of the first time we've put together a primary for the Democrats in probably 30, 35 years. And all of the analysts, and it's not just me on the backside of an envelope putting it together, all of the pundits that do this, for their livelihood say, this is the year we can flip District 4. So, questions, get a chance to meet everybody that's on the ticket, because they'll most likely be your next representative in Minneapolis. So, thank you, everybody. Candidates will be in this area. We're gonna,
I thought I saw that they were all gonna be here next week.
they might be. That's not the Democratic thing. The delegates for District 4.
You know, another district one that's
The legal women
Figure it out, Patty's
voters
email.
is
Figure it out.
one
26th, at what time?
5:30.
5:30, the League of Women Voters is hosting the same forum. But it'll be at the Richland